It's an Ohio State Wednesday night here on Mark Rogers TV. We're talking Buckeyes with Brandon Zimmerman from the Buckeye Battle Cry, and with Ohio State set to hit the field this Saturday to conclude spring practice at Ohio Stadium. Brandon, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. So we saw a number of spring games over the last 2 weekends. I don't think we can take a lot from the action, except there are some certain categories, some certain instances in which maybe we can. And with Ohio State breaking out a new offense under Kevin Wilson, and with the wide receiver position being null and void of playmaking options last year, maybe that's the focus come Saturday.
You never really expect to see too much out of spring games as far as how the season's going to look, because you've always got those guys that kind of pop up and have a great spring game, and then you don't even see them during the year. Austin Mack, freshman last year for the Buckeyes, I believe he caught like 12 passes last year in the spring game, played in maybe 3 games this year. So, it's fun. It's something that Ohio State fans are looking forward to because, one, we get to see Scarlet and Gray on the field. But we also get to see some of these young guys, see if some of those, the Binjimon Victors and the Austin Macks can go out there and make big plays. Because there's a few spots up for grab, just like you were talking about. And wide receiver is definitely one of them. There's definitely an emphasis on wide receivers making plays, on JT Ball getting the ball downfield to these wide receivers. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of play out this weekend. Urban Meyer's spring games usually tend to lean heavy towards the passing game, so they're going to get a lot of opportunities. Coming out of spring practice, it looks like Terry McLaurin and Parris Campbell both kind of have starting spots. Parris Campbell moving into the H-back spot, Terry McLaurin on the outside. Johnny Dixon and Austin Mack are kind of fighting for that other spot. You've also got guys like Binjimon Victor, who looked great at times last year. Eric Glover-Williams, who is also in that H-back slot role, moving in from safety to wide receiver, has looked really good, made a bunch of great plays. So there's a handful of guys headlined by the 2 veterans, Campbell and McLaurin, and then a bunch of young guys, and seeing who's going to make plays this year. Is McLaurin and Campbell going to be able to go out there and actually make plays off of the practice field during a game type of situation, which we really haven't seen too much from either one of them at the wide receiver spot. So there's a bunch of fun things to watch for the wide receivers.
And even though JT Barrett's secure in his position, it would be nice to see him drop back a number of times very confidently and just let her loose and kind of rip it a number of times, where that didn't look like that was the case last year, whether it be just being worn down from the beating he took throughout the season, or the defense is causing him some issues, him not feeling confident with the offensive line protection. It will be nice to see him look confident, really delivering the football on time and with some zip to it. That would be good to see.
And that is something that every time that the media has been able to see practice, there is just that added emphasis on the long ball. From what media people say, it's not always a completion. It's not always the most pretty thing, but there is a definite added emphasis on JT Barrett and the backup quarterbacks throwing deep. And that's another position to watch there too, is like I said, JT Barrett's got that starting job down. But there is a pretty big battle going on between Joe Burrow and Dwayne Haskins for that backup role. Both of those guys look like really good quarterbacks. One of them is going to be a future starting quarterback for the Buckeyes, and the spring game could play a big role on who sets himself up best to be starting quarterback next year after JT Barrett's gone.
Anything else that catches your eye or that you're looking out for this Saturday, Brandon, considering the cornerback position is very talented, but the secondary obviously loses very cream of the crop talent, and then the offensive line seems basically set, although the right guard position, Michael Jordan's in the mix, but may not be able to solidify that necessarily.
Just like the wide receivers, the cornerbacks is the other spot that I'm really interested to watch. Safeties, they say they're all both spots are currently vacant, but I think Damon Webb's pretty much got the one pull down, and he is going to be the returning starter there. At the other side, I think Eric Smith kind of has the edge on Jordan Fuller. So I think safety is going to kind of play itself out, and it's going to be Smith and Webb as the starters once a year. Cornerback, though, is just like wide receiver. There are a lot of young, inexperienced guys that are going to get a chance to prove themselves and play in front of a crowd like that for the first time in some cases. Coming out of spring practice, Damon Arnett fighting for the spot across from Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward's going to be a starter. So it's all up to who is going to be that number 2 guy. So Damon Arnett looks like he is going to be that starter right now, but JUCO transfer 5-star guy Kendall Sheffield, the former Bama player, is really starting to come on. He's getting high praises from Coach Meyer, especially today during his teleconference. So Kendall Sheffield's looking really good, and you can never count out the 2 freshmen, Sean Wade and Jeffrey Okuda. So those 3 guys will be playing in Ohio Stadium for the first time. Sheffield has a little bit of a advantage there, playing for Bama and being around that type of situation. But this will be the first time Sean Wade and Jeffrey Okuda are on the field in front of this many fans. They aren't going to get their normal 100,000+ for the spring game because most of the stadium is closed off. But even them playing in front of 83,000 people, which is going to be the max for this Saturday, is going to be a pretty big deal for them. So it'll be interesting to see how them and a bunch of the other young, talented guys for the Buckeyes respond to playing in front of 80,000+ people.